Hello, my name is Pricey Paluan, and I'm here interviewing my two students.
Hi, my name is Lonnie Morales, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a senior at Edison High School. And a fun fact about me is that I have a first degree black belt in karate.
Hi, my name is RJ Frechette. I go by he, him, and I love to go camping and hang out with my friends at the beach. And a fun fact about me is that I can hold my breath underwater for 1 minute and 46 seconds.
Great, thank you. All right, first question or next question. Do you enjoy learning physics? What do you enjoy most about physics, and why are you taking a physics class?
Okay, so I can go first. I enjoy learning a lot about physics because it's a type of science that challenges me. Because it's like more conceptual and mathematical rather than biology, which is like a science that I really love and have a passion for. That one I feel is kind of the opposite of physics. So I really enjoy physics again because it pushes me to kind of use another part of my brain to answer the questions that are at hand.
I love physics because it really teaches me a lot about the world around me, and it really gets me curious to want to learn more. So I really feel that the great thing about physics is that with each thing that I learn, it really pulls me in to want to learn more, just because it really broadens my curiosity to learn how something I use every single day works. And whenever I find that out, it really makes me appreciate things a lot more.
Awesome, thank you. So what do we need to do to inspire more students to enjoy physics?
So I think that one thing that students or even teachers can do is to kind of like connect physics, like RJ was saying, to the outside world and make it a lot more relatable. Because I feel like people don't take it because they don't believe that it could help them or benefit them in any way in the future or even in the present. So I think if teachers kind of establish that connection between the right now and the physics or the future and how it could benefit you then, I think a lot more students would feel inspired or motivated to do like physics and then do well in physics.
I feel like the activities in class, if we have more like interactive labs, that's what really inspires me in physics, is whenever we have to do the labs or we're like using like real tools with like power supplies and like big things, because it really makes me want to learn more, I guess. So I feel like that to inspire more students, if we have activities in class that are a lot more stimulating, where you have to like grab stuff and do stuff like that, I think it gets students really inspired to want to learn more.
Thank you. So what has helped you be a successful physics student, both remotely and in the classroom?
Okay, so I'm a senior right now and I'm currently taking physics. And I guess one thing that has really helped me in terms of just like regular physics and being in the classroom and all that, to have patience with myself when learning the concepts. Because like I said, like I kind of exercise a different part of my brain when I'm doing physics. It's more conceptual, more black and white. But then I guess with being remote this year, it's really difficult to do labs and to do certain procedures that we could do in person if there was no COVID. So I guess what has helped me again is trying to establish that connection to the outside world and being like, okay, I don't have these light bulbs with me and I don't have this connection with them, but I have a lamp in my room and I can kind of see that connection there. So I don't really need to be super hands-on. I guess students right now are kind of adapting and kind of have to think their own minds, like, okay, how can I apply this as to what I saw on paper? So I guess, yeah, definitely like remote learning has made physics a little bit more challenging, but that's the same with every single subject. So I think it's just a lot of adaptive learning for all of us.
I agree with Lainey. I would say that to be a successful physics student is don't let things get you frustrated, especially when you're at home during remote learning. Because a lot of times, yeah, the physics concepts can be really challenging, but I feel that when you get frustrated and you just want to give up and you want to get mad, that's just a sign that you need to keep going and keep trying harder. So I feel that to be a successful physics student is like you need to be able to like know when your breaking point is, and you know like when you need a break and like when you can keep going. And I think also too that keeping up on a lot of like the zeros is like super helpful, because like not having any missing assignments for me has taken out like a lot of stress for me at least. And I feel that like I'm gaining more knowledge by completing all my assignments on time, and I'm not so stressed out with missing assignments. So I would say that just like knowing what your limits are and keeping up on all of your assignments is what makes me a successful physics student.
Awesome, thank you. So what's the biggest challenge you faced as a physics student, and were you able to overcome the challenge?
So the biggest challenge I have faced was being able to connect the concept that I've just learned and really understand how it works to something in real life. I know, like I said before, like I know I've been saying that there's always a connection, but sometimes for me it's a little bit difficult to establish that in my mind. So in order to like kind of overcome this, I again, like I said, like I kind of just like look around at my surroundings and like, okay, how can this concept be used in real life? Or I ask a lot of questions in class. Like I ask you, Dr. P, like all the time, like I still don't get it. Like I don't understand why this works because I really want to solidify my understanding before I move on to the next one. So asking questions has really helped me overcome this, even if these questions make me seem like I'm not smart enough or I'm not understanding it. Like I don't let that get in the way of my learning. Like I'm not afraid just to ask if I need it.
I feel like the biggest challenge for me as a physics student in 2021 is having to work really independently due to remote learning at COVID. But even though communication may be decreased because we don't have that teacher right there, it's not fully gone. So I feel that to overcome these issues, it's really just like even trying harder on communication, whether that be emailing your teacher, setting up a after school meeting, or going through Canvas. And even then, like you can even ask a friend during that from your same class and just say, hey, like, how do you help? Can you help me out? Like, run me through this question with me real quick. So I think that having to work independently isn't a crazy big issue because it really does benefit me for my growth in physics.
Right. Which experiment do you remember the most, and what have you learned from it?
Okay, so an experiment that I learned, or that's the most memorable for me, was a roller coaster project that I did, I think a couple months ago or like in January. And this was when we had to make a roller coaster with only paper, cardboard, and tape. And then a Hot Wheels car had to like go down the ramp and then make one loop at least. And this project was so memorable because it took like 2 full afternoons, like it took a whole weekend to do. And the reason for this was because the first time that I did it, I just eyeballed everything. Like I just went like, oh, this looks about right. Like I didn't do any measurements. I didn't do any of the things that I was supposed to be doing because I thought I could make it like easier or faster. Obviously it didn't work because physics is very, it's very black and white. Like this is how it works and this is like the parameters which you need to do your things. So I wasted like 4 hours of a Saturday trying to get it to work. At the end, it didn't. And I went to bed. I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. I don't know what to do. The next day, I took a step back. I erased everything that I did before. I kind of threw it away. I redid it. And I actually like measured everything out. I was like by the centimeter. I was super precise. And then it finally worked. So that kind of showed me how precise you have to be and how you have to use your time wisely and be more efficient when you're doing, especially like physics things. But I think with everything, with every single subject, do it right the first time so that you don't waste a lot of time in the future. So that's what I learned.
My favorite experiment is the roller coaster project also, just because I loved how like memorable it was because again, with me too, it took me like so long to do. And I did exactly what Lainey did. And I just eyeballed it because I assumed it was going to be super easy, but it wasn't. It was actually really hard. And I had like my parents helping me out and everything like that. And it took us a while, but when we finally got it to go through the loop, it was like so rewarding. So I think that like some things that I learned from this experiment is to like keep on pushing because like even though it might be hard right now, once you get to that end of it, it's going to be so rewarding to get through it. And physics concepts that I've learned has to obviously be like Newton's laws and how I can apply it to my track. I think that was a big thing too, is how can I make my track better and how can I adjust it to fit what I really need. So I think it's really just problem solving and for sure just keep pushing forward for that success.
Great. Okay, we're gonna transition over to the senior student questions and some miscellaneous questions. So what concerns do you have about the first year of college? What do you think will be the hardest?
Okay, so I'm concerned about the amount of work and the level of difficulty of the classes that I could be taking in college. So I've been admitted to a few now, and all of them are the same major I'm going to be going in as biology. So I think that's going to be like my main concern is how difficult are these classes going to be, but then also the workload that I'm going to be taking out of these. I want to be sure that I'm not taking more than I can chew. Because I know that it's a time of great change, especially freshman year or the first semester. So I really have to be able to dial it down a little bit and have patience with myself and kind of just like take it step by step. And yeah, the hardest thing will probably be just like that establishing like a healthy routine or a healthy boundary as to where I draw the line. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do any more work than this, because if I do, then I'm going to overwork myself, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try to do that when I like next or this September or whenever I start college. But I'm definitely going to try to work on that, establishing those healthy boundaries and the healthy habits for learning.
Great, thank you. Okay, back to the miscellaneous questions, and more so physics class related. Are you or any of your classmates afraid of or intimidated by the math that's involved with learning physics?
I would say so, yeah, because my friends don't really. I have a couple friends that decided to not do physics this year just because of the different math concepts. And I feel that like whenever we think of things in the future, we think about how it's going to run down and how like, okay, well, if I do physics, I'm going to have to learn this and this and this and this and this. But really, in actuality, when you're in the moment, you don't learn it every single concept at once. You take it one step at a time. And I think that a lot of people don't really realize that, especially when they're thinking about joining physics and thinking about all the different math concepts. Because it's not like that we're going to be learning these math concepts all at once. You take it one step at a time, and you have friends and teachers and everybody that helps you out with it. So I feel that like it is pretty intimidating thinking about all the different kinds of math, but really in actuality, you're only thinking about it one step at a time. So I think if we just kind of think about it that way, then it's really not that intimidating.
All right. What advice would you give to others studying physics?
I would say one thing that I would tell someone who's about to go into physics or is even thinking about it is that you have to make an active effort to understand each concept before you move on to the next one, because physics is very interrelated. So everything that you've learned before, you're going to be using again. So it's really important to solidify your understanding of that one concept before you move on to the next one. That has really helped me because I can always fall back on stuff that I already know. I'm like, okay, this is what I know, and this is what I need to figure out. It kind of just helps guide you. It gives you a direction in order to solve physics problems or just understand concepts in general.
I would say, like I said before, keeping up on all your missing assignments, and I would say now is taking really good notes, because just like Lainey said, like a lot of times you're going to be going forward and you're going to need to know the concepts from the previous units. So when you take good notes the very first time, it really helps you go back and fall back on things that you already know. And I would say that like for me, I like to use like different colored pens, different colored highlighters, just to really like make them pop, because it really does like help you learn a lot more when you're able to see it all in front of you and visualize it all. So I would say just like take your time, take good notes, because you're going to need them for sure later on in the unit and for the future units too.
All right. Last but certainly not least, is there anything else that either of you would like to share with high school physics teachers?
Yeah, so I think one thing that everybody I think needs to kind of just like focus on is that it's okay that people struggle with certain concepts. And I know teachers are very understanding of this, but I think students need to come to terms with that. It's okay to struggle with a physics concept, or it's okay to acknowledge that you're not going to capture it right away, because like I said, physics it uses another part of your brain, or some people who are more artsy might not get it immediately. So they just have to have patience with themselves, and then teachers have to have patience with their students so that they can move forward together and learning all of these concepts. One thing that I guess teachers and students could do is kind of just break it down. So like, let's say a teacher sees that students are really struggling as a whole, as a class, maybe just take a step back, like use like one whole day to review the lesson one more time if needed, so that everybody understands it. Or if a student sees that they're struggling, reach out to their teacher and not be afraid to ask questions, because again, you really should solidify the understanding before moving on to the next one. So I guess just breaking it down, taking it step by step, because it could get overwhelming with all the equations and the symbols and the whatnot. So
I would say that especially during this time, during remote learning, a lot of students will like tune out class and maybe just go on their phones and turn off their cameras and everything like that. But I think that in order for students to kind of stop doing this, they kind of have to be interested in what the teacher has to say. And I would say that that starts with really bonding with your students. And something that I really like that my teachers do is before class, we might do like a question of the day, or we'll have like a discussion about something else like that's not related to class. And I think that just like this like quick 5 minutes of just like not class and just like getting to like talk to the teacher and just kind of building that relationship with them, it kind of makes them more of a friend rather than a teacher. And I think that if we want students to learn and want to listen to what the people have to say, I think that you kind of have to bond before being the teacher, I really think. And I say that whenever you guys bond, you guys have like this like nice like, hey, yeah, you're a cool person. I think it kind of makes the students want to listen to what they have to say, which in turn makes them learn during class. So I think by kind of like, I wouldn't say tricking them, but by kind of like getting them on the same route of like, oh, listen, because I have something cool to say, it kind of makes the students want to listen during class also. So I would say really just bonding with your students, and yeah, I guess that's really it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking time out of your spring breaks for this so early in the morning too. We really appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Celestina Pangan. I am an IB and pre-IB physics teacher at Chavez High School. I have here with me my student. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes.
And tell us some fun facts about you?
Hello, my name is Sade Abinet. I am a senior at Chavez High School and my pronouns are she and her. And a fun fact about me is that I have 2 birth dates.
Really, today? Can you please tell us more about it?
Yes, I was born in Ethiopia, which has a different calendar than a lot of the world. We are about 7 years behind. So in Ethiopia, I was born March 18th, 1995, which is the equivalent of March 27th, 2003 over here.
Oh, very interesting. Do you enjoy learning physics? What do you enjoy most about physics? And why are you taking physics anyway?
Yes, physics is one of my favorite subjects in school. I love how physics uses mathematics in order to explore and understand the natural world. I love how using physics, you're able to make something out of the natural world. And I think it's a lot of where our achievements and innovations have come from.
Okay. What do we need to do to inspire more students to enjoy physics like you do?
I think that a lot of what students don't like about physics is that they don't understand physics as a subject by itself. A lot of my friends love biology or they love chemistry, but they don't understand that physics is inherently a part of chemistry and biology. So when they're doing concepts in chemistry or biology and they enjoy that, and I see it and I'm like, that's physics. They're like, no, it's not, it's chemistry and biology. And I'm like, no, it's physics. You just don't like, they don't understand physics as a concept by itself as like understanding forces, but they can understand it in application of something else. So I think if we were to kind of broaden people's understanding of physics as more than just the concepts itself and more into the applications of what it can do, I think that would get students more involved and interested.
Okay, thank you for that input, and I will take note on that. Now, what has helped you be a successful physics student, both remotely and in the classroom?
I love watching physics videos by myself. So I like scour the internet for different like astrophysics, different concepts, things that I don't know, things that are interesting. And I think I've been doing this for years. So when I got into physics class officially sophomore year, I was already kind of familiar with some of the concepts and ideas. So even though I didn't fully understand what was being said, I was still familiar with what was going on. I could still kind of visualize what was being said.
Okay, so what is the biggest challenge you faced as a physics student, and were you able to overcome the challenges?
Yes, when I first got into physics, I was obsessed with the idea of being perfect. And I was like, I have to ace all of the tests, I have to get things perfect, but physics isn't like that at all. And I remember one time that we took a test and the highest grade in the class was like a 60 and I got like a 50 something and I was devastated. But over time, when you're in physics, you kind of learn that it's not just about acing the tests or like fully getting every single answer right. You have to understand the concepts deeply and comprehensively.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with high school physics teachers?
Good work, good job. I think you're doing an amazing job as teachers because physics is a really great subject and I love physics, and learning physics from my teacher has been one of the ways that I've grown more in love with physics. And I think just continue to make students interested, continue to do interesting experiments, things that students love, and kind of like using popular trends of right now would probably help you in getting engagement.
Okay. Was there a person or event that inspired you to study physics?
Yes, when I first arrived in the United States, I did not know how to speak English at all. I didn't understand anything. So what my dad did was he would buy me a lot of picture books. And one of the books that he bought me was this like big picture book of space concepts and science and space science. So I didn't understand what was going on at all. But all I knew was that I loved the pretty pictures of the galaxies on the pages. And so it became one of my favorite books, but I didn't understand anything that was going on. But once I started going to school and learning English and I started reading what was behind the pictures, I completely fell in love with what was being said. I mean, it was completely different from my normal life, which was like playing with toys and like learning my ABCs. So I think like just the fascination with something that I didn't know kind of like kickstarted my love for space and astronomy. And then later on, when it got more technical into physics itself.
Okay. Are you or any of your classmates afraid to make mistakes while learning a concept?
Yes, as I said before, I was obsessed with the idea of being perfect. But I think it's kind of like drilled into our heads to get the best grades possible. But again, physics isn't like that. It's hard to understand physics the first time. It really is. So a lot of the times when I was a sophomore and even a junior, it was kind of like quiet once Miss Pangan asked someone to answer the questions. And I was more comfortable with it, so I would raise my hand. But there were even times where I was just like, I don't know the answer and I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm not going to raise my hand. But I think just kind of like I learned to realize, well, I realized that you're not going to be perfect all the time and you just have to do your best. And I think the environment that I was learning in, which is IB, so there weren't that many students in my classroom. So we all became friends and we all became comfortable and we would help each other. So I was more comfortable with sharing my ideas. And even though they were wrong, uh, being able to bounce my ideas off of other people and like get a bigger understanding overall with different perspectives really helped me to get rid of my fear of being wrong.
Okay. Have you ever observed coincidences between daily happenings and physics?
Yes, I'm in the process of getting my driver's license right now. So one of the things that I learned during my 6-hour course was that the reason that seat belts and airbags exist in cars is to stop the movement of your body once the collision occurs, because your body stays in motion unless there's something to stop it. And airbags and seat belts are a way of doing that. And I had already learned that in physics, like my sophomore year. It was something that Ms. Pangan had told us about the force and like movement. So I was like, oh, like I already know this. I'm familiar with this concept.
How is your remote learning right now, today? How challenging is it right now for you?
It's been really difficult, actually. Physics is really hands-on, and in my junior year, before COVID happened, we were doing physics experiments probably every single week of the school year. And once COVID hit and we turned virtual, all of that was gone, and I didn't have the hands-on experience that I was used to and that had helped me along the way. So of course there was like online simulations, but there's a difference between like seeing something happen and then like actually seeing something happen and being a part of it. So that was a really big challenge for me. In addition to that, I'm in IB and I was working on my physics IA when COVID happened. So I didn't have the equipment that I needed at home, and I had to build my own makeshift pendulum and do my entire like physics experiment solo, just by myself in my room alone.
Yeah, I remember that IA was really tough for us because I have to help you, and we're doing it virtually. You cannot be in the classroom, so I could see your experiment or your setup. So I know it was really tough on your part. Now, which experiment do you remember the most in the class, and what have you learned from it?
I think the most memorable one was the ending exam of my sophomore year. It was my first big like lab report, and I think the concept was, I remember we were using water balloons, and I think we were testing how the angle of the release affects how far it travels or something like that. And we did it all by ourselves. We had no help from the teacher. We just had to like do the experiment. We had to do the lab report. And then afterward, we had to do a live presentation in front of university students. And it was my sophomore year and I was like terrified. And it was like my first big like physics thing by myself.
Yeah, well, Thank you today for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Celestina Pangan. I teach IB and Pre-IB Physics at Chavez High School. Here with me is my former student. Kindly introduce yourself and tell a fun fact about you.
Hi, my name is Servando Avalos. I enjoy playing the guitar in the spare time, and I use the pronouns he, him.
Awesome. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Servando. I will have some questions to ask you that will benefit us physics teachers. Do you enjoy learning physics? What do you enjoy most about physics, and why are you taking a physics class?
Yes, I truly enjoy physics, and what I enjoy most about it is the challenge of problem solving that it brings to me. I like how it brings multiple subjects that we're taught in school, like the mathematics and the science, as a way for understanding the world and the way things work.
Thank you. What do we need to do to inspire more students to enjoy physics?
To inspire more students to enjoy physics, I think that we have to spark their interest for science outside of academics and the classroom. I think that schools need to promote their science programs through extracurricular activities and get students more involved.
Okay. What has helped you be a successful physics student, both remotely and in the classroom?
I think what has helped me be a successful physics student is sticking to it even when it feels difficult, and practicing. Remotely, making the shift to learning remotely was difficult because of time management and organization that I wasn't used to. But after time went by, I was able to adjust, and simply having a strong focus for physics also helped me become a better physics student.
Okay. What is the biggest challenge you faced as a physics student, and were you able to overcome the challenge?
The biggest challenge I faced as a physics student was truly understanding what different equations meant. When I had my first physics course, I had trouble putting together the physics concept with the mathematics. But I felt that after taking a step back and looking at everything as a whole, I was able to understand and relate both aspects to one another.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you would like to share with high school physics teachers?
I think that it's really important for teachers to motivate their students. I found this works best for me through hands-on experiments in person and now virtually with interactive presentations. I feel that visual aspect really helps many students understand and remember the concepts much better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have some more questions. Would you like to study science in college? Can you see yourself working in a job that requires you to know physics?
I would like to study science in college, because so far I've really enjoyed my physics classes. I can definitely see myself working in a job that requires me to know physics, since I plan to have a career in engineering and this heavily physics dependent field.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about diversity in physics? Can anyone be in physics? Can you think of ways of making physics more inclusive?
I think that physics has historically been a male-dominated field, and that minorities are not as exposed to physics as other ethnic groups, although anyone can be a physicist. Some ways that I think that we can make physics more inclusive are to create programs to introduce minorities and girls to physics at an early age, and keep working with them as they grow older in order for them to maintain that interest.
Which experiment do you remember the most, and what have you learned from it?
The experiment I remember most was an egg drop challenge that we did when we were studying kinematics, because my group mates and I took a very practical approach with the limited materials we had. We simply sat an egg inside of a small cardboard box filled with bubble wrap and created a cage-like structure around the edges so that would absorb the shock of the impact of the egg drop. And from this, I was able to learn that some problems in physics have solutions that are much simpler than we may initially think.
So did the egg survive?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a person or event that inspired you to study physics?
I think the people that inspired me to study physics the most were my physics teachers, such as you, and they really sparked my interest because I wasn't necessarily introduced to this subject until I was introduced to the courses.
Well, think about that. Are you or any of your classmates afraid of or intimidated by the math that's involved with learning physics?
I think that some of my classmates are intimidated by the math that's involved with learning physics because Like me, I think that they struggle making that connection of a concept between how something works and how it relates to the mathematics.
Okay. And what advice would you give to others studying physics?
I think the best advice I can give other students studying physics is to not be afraid to ask their teachers questions. Sometimes it's very difficult to understand some concepts by yourself, so having someone to clarify those confusions, like a teacher, is incredibly helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you, Servando, for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Fabian Kuris. I'm a PhD student at the University of Sofia St. Clement Ohridski, and also I'm a teacher from Sofia, Bulgaria. And today I would like to introduce you one of my best students, Ivaiva and Martin. Ivaiva, Martin, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ivaiva Radkova. I'm from Sofia, Bulgaria, as Fabian. I study in high school 125 in Sofia, where we live. I am interested in mathematics and science. I also have a hobby which involves my two dogs. I have two Yorkshire Terriers. I like grooming them, caring for them, and taking them to talk shows.
Thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
Hi, my name is Martin and I'm 18 years old. I'm currently in 11th grade in high school and I've been participating in mathematics, physics and computer science competitions and national Olympiads since middle school. And I have also done research in mathematics. In my spare time, I enjoy growing flowers at home and going in the mountains with friends. Last year, some of my classmates and I founded a tourist club in my school so that we can inspire more people to go on hikes and enjoy the beautiful nature in the mountains.
Thank you, Martin. My second question is, do you enjoy learning physics? What do you enjoy most about physics? Why are you taking a physics class? Ivaiva?
Of course, I enjoy learning physics. I really like when I am able to solve a problem that I didn't expect to be able to solve. And I really like learning new stuff. So that really helped me with the physics because there are a lot of things to learn. Well, in our country, I'm 10th grade currently, so we don't choose what to study. We have a fixed program and we have study physics classes in that program. So I do study physics, but I enjoy it, so I hope I will be able to continue to study physics after I finish 10th grade and hopefully at university as well.
Yeah, thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
Well, during my high school years, physics has been one of my favorite subjects, and my favorite part of it is competitive physics. I love solving challenging problems because it is very entertaining. It involves using both your imagination and knowledge. Sometimes a problem can keep me wondering for whole days, but eventually I solve it and I feel very satisfied. Another reason why I love competitive problems is that they allow us to realize how physics laws govern the things that happen in everyday life. I think that competitive problems are perfect for teaching us how to put this theory into practice. They combine many fields of physics into complex real-life situations, and the most impressive thing is that these situations can be explained with just the formulas we study in school.
Thank you, Martin. My next question is, what do teachers need to do to inspire more students to enjoy physics? Ivaiva?
Well, they just need to show the students how beautiful physics is. And fortunately, my teachers were able to show me the beauty of physics, and I fell for that subject. Also, what I think is really important, children are very competitive, so organizing different competitions is the key to attracting attention to physics.
Yes, thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
Well, before physics, my first passion was mathematics. One obvious reason for that is the fact that we start studying mathematics before we do physics. But apart from that, I think that mathematics attracted me because there were many competitions throughout the year. On these competitions, I could challenge myself with interesting problems. We also had special mathematics courses in our school where we were taught methods that are not included in the school curriculum, but which were really helpful for the competitions. I think that my love for mathematics developed thanks to all of these factors, and that is why I think the same could be done with physics. Students should have the opportunity to get involved in competitive physics from a younger age, and in general, there should be more physics competitions throughout the year. And then, if schools organize courses for preparations for these competitions, then it will be possible to inspire a wider group of students to engage in physics.
Thank you, Martin. My next question is, what has helped you be a successful physics student, both remotely and in the classroom? Ivaiva?
Well, one of the things is passion about the subject, but also listening to the teacher, solving extra problems, not only the homework, finding more information. The internet is giving us a lot of opportunities, and we have to take what we can from it. So there are a lot of interesting facts out there that are not included in the study program. So that's also helped me stay interested in physics and develop my knowledge.
Yeah, thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
I think that one of the major factors was my interest in the subject. I have always liked physics, and so I was always eager to study the new lessons. I have never considered skipping a class or not doing my homework because I viewed studying physics not only as a school obligation, but rather as an activity that gives me satisfaction. Another factor is perhaps the fact that dealing with formulas wasn't something new for me. Mathematics helped me develop this skill, and so this side of physics was not an obstacle for me. And of course, the good teachers I have always had were key in both sparking and developing my passion for physics. Without somebody to guide me in the vast material in physics, it would have been much more difficult. As for the remote studying of physics, I think that it is not a serious problem, mainly because of the nature of the subject. As physics is an exact science, the logic behind many of the concepts is mostly embedded in formulas. That makes the meaning clear and prevents it from being interpreted in more than one way. Also, unlike humanities, physics isn't really dependent on face-to-face interaction and discussion. Because of these factors, I think that teaching physics remotely is easier compared to other subjects.
Thank you, Martin. My next question is, what is the biggest challenge you faced as a physics student? Were you able to overcome the challenge? Ivaiva?
The biggest challenge I faced as a physics student was perhaps when the remote learning started. That's when the teachers didn't quite know how to teach remotely. So they just threw raw theory at us, and we weren't able to capture it, let's say so. So it was quite hard for me. I had to ask a lot of questions, search on the internet if I can find a way to explain to myself what has happened, because physics isn't easy. You have to put a lot of effort into learning it, to understand it, and to be able to use it when solving problems. And
Yeah, thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
When I need certain information about physics, I generally greatly depend on the internet. Also, as I'm not in a specialized English school, we study physics in Bulgarian language. That is why information in Bulgarian is most useful for me. However, there aren't sufficient physics resources available on the internet in my language, so I have to do my research in English. Unfortunately, the terminology is language specific, and often the symbols for variables are different. This is why many times it takes me more time and effort to find the information I need and convert it to Bulgarian. Another perhaps more interesting challenge that I faced was the use of approximations. There are some specifics in that approach that were new to me, and I had to get used to them. When using approximations, you have to understand the situation really deeply so that you know what is reasonable and what isn't. Yeah.
Thank you, Martin. My next question is, would you like to study science in college? Can you see yourself working in a job that requires you to know physics? Ivaiva?
I would really like to study science in college and pursue a career in science, because that's something I like. And I think that you should like what you do and your job, because you're going to work at least 8 hours a day, at least 5 days a week. In Bulgaria, at least it's like that. So if you don't like what you do, you're just wasting this time, and you can be doing something meaningful at that time.
Thank you, Ivaiva. Martin?
Yeah, so I do consider studying science in college and university because I think that professions that are connected with science are one of the best, or they will suit me best, because I think that science is like unlimited, and there is always something new to learn. So these professions would give me the best field for development.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, my next question is, can you describe how your favorite teachers teach? How do you think physics teachers can improve their teaching? Ivaiva?
How my favorite teachers teach? Well, they always have a conspect made, so they give it to us, and this way we learn easier. We can learn everything that we heard for the first time or not for the first time during the lesson. So I think that's very useful that they give us conspects. Also, they show us experiments, especially in physics, chemistry, and so on. And
Yes.
Children are easily impressed by those experiments, so we remember them, and that's something interesting for us, because something unexpected happens, or something that we haven't heard of happens when we didn't expect it to happen. Also, there are a lot of useful videos on the internet when, for example, we don't have the materials we need for a certain experiment. The teachers put on the video and explain to us what is happening. So that's quite useful as well.
Thank you, Ivaiva. Thank you very much. Martin?
In physics, a lot of times the logic behind the many concepts is clear or fairly reasonable. So teachers, my teachers would always give good examples, because there's a saying that one example is worth a million words. So I think that is what teachers should focus on giving good examples, and this includes giving problems for children for the pupils to solve. I've always been a huge fan of problems, so yeah, this is one very important part for me.
Thank you, Martin. My next question is, how familiar are you with opportunities for scholarships or grants, and with the possible expenses of loans for college? Ivaila?
I'd say I'm not very familiar, but I really need to know those things because I have college coming soon in 2 years' time. So I would really like to know more about that. And I would have to find the resources to find that information.
Thank you, Ivaila. Thank you. Martin?
Well, since I have to apply for colleges this year, I've done some research, but it's mainly in financial aid, as I think, as you know, that we as international students cannot get a loan for college. Yeah, but still, I would like to do more research, or yeah, and get more information.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. My next question is, are you or any of your classmates afraid of or intimidated by the math that is involved with learning physics? Ivaila?
Well, about me, I have been doing maths for more than 5 years. I have went to many competitions and have won quite a few medals. So the math in the physics is not a problem for me, but my classmates find it really hard to understand and to combine the two subjects together.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivaila. Martin?
Well, perhaps I've already answered that question, but yeah, for me, math was not a problem. And for my class, it was almost the same. Yeah.
Thank you. My next question is, are you or any of your classmates afraid to make mistakes while learning a concept? Ivaila?
I am usually afraid of making mistakes while learning a concept. That's why I ask a lot of questions during the lesson. I also do a lot of research outside school and solve quite a few problems to understand what's happening and to be aware of the situation. I don't think my classmates are afraid to make mistakes because they strike answers all the time. Where I first think about it. Am I sure? Am I not sure? Should I say it? Should I not? And I almost always end up not saying it. And what I thought turns out to be true. That's maybe not a very good quality of mine, but I really need to be sure to say something.
Thank you, Ivaila. Martin?
I can't say that I'm afraid of making mistakes. I actually, in some context, I enjoy when there is a mistake, because many times I understood the concept or the problem that I was doing better after making a mistake, because in the process of searching for where that mistake is, you revise everything you've done, and when you finally see the mistake, you might actually understand really why the things work as they are, as they do.
Yes, thank you, Martin. My next question is, have you ever observed coincidences between daily happenings and physics? Ivaila?
Of course, I have. Physics is everywhere. It's fascinating. for example, as a kid, I've always wondered why, when I just released the ball, it didn't jump as high as I threw it. Or in other cases, when I pounded the ball, it jumped higher than I threw it from. So that was really fascinating for me to learn the physics behind what's happening, and it's really fascinating.
Thank you, Ivara. Martin?
I wouldn't say coincidence. Perhaps it happened more the other way around. With the more physics I learned, the more I understood why things in nature or in everyday life work as they do. And for many things that I actually hadn't asked myself why they work like that, because I never thought I would be able to answer for myself. After studying the needed physics, I was able to come to the explanation.
Thank you, Martin. And my last question is there anything else you would like to share with high school physics teachers? Ivara?
Well, I'd like to say make physics fun, make it approachable, show its true beauty to the students, and they will appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Ivara. Martin?
Well, I would like to add to what Eva said. Apart from that, physics teachers should not be afraid to challenge their students, because many times challenge is what makes somebody passionate about a subject.
Great, thank you very much.
So good morning, my name is Elmarie Mortimer. I'm a AP Physics teacher here at Trinity Preparatory School in Winter Park, Florida. And with me today are two of my AP Physics 2 students. I'm going to hand over to them immediately so that they can introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Brooke Beers. I'm a senior at Trinity Preparatory School. Like Dr. Mortimer said, I'm in AP Physics 2. I use she, her pronouns. And a fun fact about me is that I just finished crocheting this hat yesterday.
Hi, I'm Emma Davey. I'm also a senior here at Trinity Prep, and I also use she, her pronouns. And a fun fact about me is I run cross country and track, and I have a track meet today. So.
Okay, so let's talk about AP Physics 1 experience and then moving into AP Physics 2. So what made you decide to pick AP Physics 1? And when did you decide to take AP Physics 1?
I decided to take AP Physics 1 my sophomore year, well, at the end of my freshman year, to take in my sophomore year. And I really wanted to expose myself to different areas of science. So I had taken biology, I had been somewhat exposed to earth science and chemistry a little in 8th grade. And I really wanted to like broaden my horizons to see what I liked the best. And when I heard I could just take AP Physics instead of honors physics, I went for it because I love a challenge. And it was hard, but it was a challenge I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a lot of what Emma said on exploring different areas of science. And also what kind of made it more appealing was that I knew Emma was going in at the same time as me, and my other friend was also going in. So I knew that we wouldn't struggle alone. So that was definitely an incentive.
Now, if you think back of AP Physics 1, well, if I think back of your AP Physics 1 years, I remember both of you initially struggling to get used to the new way of thinking. Was there any advice from that stage that you would want to give to AP Physics 1 students now?
The biggest thing is just not to panic if you don't understand the material. For me, it didn't click for me until a few months in, around like our first exam, like the first semester exam. And then after I just like was staring at physics equations and just studying for so long, there's just a moment where like you kind of start to understand it. And then from that point on, it just starts to get easier.
I would say be patient with yourself, like pretty much the same. I had never been in a class where I didn't understand all of the concepts like immediately. Like normally it was pretty smooth sailing, but physics was hard for me. It was the first incredibly difficult class I'd ever taken. And as a sophomore, it was scary. And so like Brooke said, like, don't panic and trust yourself that like eventually you're going to get the hang of it. But it'll take a while and you have to like cut yourself that slack.
And also like, don't be expecting to like do amazing. Like it's a hard subject.
Yeah.
Just don't like set too high goals for yourself. Like
it was so funny. Yeah. The second day of class, Dr. Mortimer was like, this class is going to bite you. Like it's going to hurt your GPA. And I was like, I don't believe you. I'm going to do amazing in this class. And it was hard. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Emma, this question goes specifically to you. So it was hard and you felt that it did bite you in the end. Yet you came back for AP Physics 2. Why?
Because I saw it as a challenge I could handle. Like I wanted to prove that I could do it and not only like just be thrown headfirst into some insane challenge I didn't know was coming, but choose to like keep going. And because I knew there was more to learn and I genuinely like learning how things work. So even though physics is really hard, I like knowing the different formulas about how like things fall and how like light is reflected. And I really wanted to just like keep going. I thought it was just interesting. So yeah.
And Brooke, what was your inspiration for coming back?
Yeah, for me, I was kind of debating which courses I was going to sign up for over summer. I was talking to my friend, Jess is actually going into engineering at Princeton right now. And she took AP Physics 2 and was kind of convincing me to take it. And then I just kind of thought about what I really enjoyed, because if I wasn't going to take that, I was going to take like an AP Bio. But I just kind of realized that I didn't enjoy that as much.
I mean, I was going to be in AP Physics too. So,
I
mean, there's that.
Definitely.
So if you compare your AP Physics 1 experience to your AP Physics 2 experience, given the fact that this year we were doing a high flex classroom where sometimes instruction was remote, what do you think, how do you feel, what was the advantages of this remote learning and what was the disadvantages of remote learning, specifically in the AP classroom?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the advantages are just like the safety aspect. There's been some times when I was worried about the outbreak on campus, or I had like a swim meet coming up soon that I knew I had to be there for. So just being able to go online was really nice. But there's a lot of physics concepts that are hard to teach online. I think we were both talking about optics. We both were partially on, online for optics. And that was very interesting, especially because there's so much that a camera can show you. And it was definitely a little lacking, but I think we still got the hang of it eventually.
For me, definitely optics, and also testing online for me was very difficult because like we had to use like, I don't even know how to explain it. So Dr. Marner would like present the quiz online, and that's how we would take it, and she would scroll through it. And for me, that was very hard to not be able to go back or write on the actual quiz, because I feel like so much of physics is like you have to write down your thoughts and like work your way through it, but to do that online was incredibly difficult. And also to stay to pay attention online is also very difficult. And when you're dealing with crazy things in physics, to do it online, it's just not it's not the same at all. So yeah.
So while we're on this physics learning, is there any experiment in physics that you remember most?
We both said the flying pig lab.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. It was a flying pig
that we strapped to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And it was very memorable. We would stand on our desks to attach the pig to the ceiling and watch it like fly in circles. And I think that was tension and like centripetal force and stuff. And it was so much fun. And to do it with like our friends and stuff in the class, like it was great. So.
Yeah, just if you can make a lab something more than like counting pennies. Or another one I actually really liked was the elevator lab.
I remember that was our first lab, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That one is also really
I did
fun.
That,
So just like making them fun is a lot easier to enjoy them.
I agree.
So using the equipment, using expensive equipment wasn't as important as just enjoying everyday things and understanding everyday things.
Yeah.
If you think about just a sort of a last question, with your deciding to go to college, Do you think that physics helped you make a decision and helped you get into college, or did you struggle?
As far as, I mean, it kind of helped me know what I want to go into because I really enjoyed physics, and I'm hoping to pursue a path in engineering. And as far as getting into college, I mean, I'm sure I could have had like similar stuff with like bio or whatever, but physics probably helped me stand out a little more, especially because women don't tend to do physics as much. So that was probably a bit of a standout.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I would say AP Physics came up in a couple of my college essays and describing like the challenge and like how it made me like a better student and a kind of a better person, and being able to like take a step back, not be too cocky and be like, it's okay that I don't understand things. I don't have to be the best at everything. So I would say, yes, it definitely helped me with college. Yeah, and definitely like narrowing my career path that I want to pursue.
Was there any barriers for you to go to college? That you found it difficult to get into college? So did you find it difficult to get all the scholarships?
Well, Trinity's done a great job of preparing us for applying to college, so it was less where I would get in. The money is still a bit, like I know both of us are kind of debating.
Yeah, even now, beginning of April, we're still kind of back and forth between things because we're trying to figure out what'll give us like the best opportunity, but also the best financially. So, yeah.
And then just in conclusion, is there anything that you want to share with physics teachers out there? How can they best inspire more students to take physics?
I think a big thing is understanding that there's a lot of students that just aren't interested in physics, and like just moving on from those people and then kind of like showing all the opportunities and what you can do with physics to like the people who are actually going to take it. Because I mean, there's some brilliant people that just are more like into medicine or biology, and yeah, you might have to take some physics courses, but it's not their jam, if you know what I mean.
I get that. But at the same time, I would say like, I think a lot of people don't quite understand how like it all fits together. Like in life, like there's so much physics and you just like don't even think about it until you like start like learning it and then like applying it to like what you're doing. And like, I don't know, I just love learning how things work. So maybe just appealing from that side, like you're going to learn how like the reason behind so many things like engines and tires and, you know, torque and things you never even thought of that are like behind the scenes of everyday life. And I think that's so interesting. But I also agree that like people have their own thing, but physics is, Anyway.
Like maybe an introductory course. 'Cause I know 8th grade science, at least at our school,
did some.
They do a little bit of physics, but making it a little more entertaining would probably help get more people into it.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for listening.